People, deluded, I'm back again. Let me step back a bit. Fridays equals Q&A day, as you know. So, let's not waste any more time. Thank you very much for your questions. Let's just crack on, people. I've tried something new. A couple of people have said there's no need to mention the usernames of people that have asked the questions, so we'll see how it goes. First question I do remember, and it's from Brandon. Now, shout out to Brandon. I missed you out last week. Apologies for that, brother. But moving forward, you asked me in relation to Danny Welbeck leaving. I assume in terms of depth purposes. You asked me would I take back Giroud. The answer is no. We've got players that are turning to around Giroud's age, or the I don't want to say wrong side of 30 because you can be a baller at any age, but in terms of a business proposition, non-biased thing, wrong sort of age for a footballer in terms of what you're going to get back in terms of marketing and finances and resale value and that. Giroud isn't going to provide us with that. Yeah, he could provide depth, but he isn't going to provide us with any resale value. He's not going to feature much in terms of us properly because you've got Aubameyang, you've got Lacazette. He'd be a good option off the bench, I suppose. But he probably wants to go and get football. Whether that's he's had a decent career. He's a World Cup winner. Won the league in France with Montpellier, FA Cup titles. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Did he win something with Chelsea as well? I could be wrong. Hopefully he don't win nothing in the Europa League final. But he's had a good career. Does he want to go somewhere where he can still challenge? Does he want to go somewhere and be on the go somewhere for a challenge that might not happen again? I think the upcoming window is going to be crazy, my guys, man. I think we're going to see some big players leave. I think we're going to see crazy things happen. Imagine a top European club comes to him and says you can be a bit part player, but you can feature. Maybe he does that. Maybe he goes MLS or China or somewhere for the experience or the finances. Also relating back to Arsenal, I was going off topic, but you look at it, he's the wrong side of 30. We've got a couple of players on big wages that are gonna that we're gonna need to move on the wage bill is allegedly needing a revamp in terms of who is on it. So why add to it more? I'd be more inclined to use Eddie, or if you can find this, it's probably harder nowadays for decent money, but if you could find someone that can do that, or sign some wingers so Emery can use some alternatives. He seems hell-bent of sorts eventually when the team's pattern to sign another striker, because if you just read between the lines, it always comes out allegedly from all the tabloids that he wants a striker and all the people that are in the know, and we're always linked to strikers. Now there's no smoke without fire, people, and it is a fact if you just look at certain accounts. Arsenal scouts, again, were there to watch Leon's Dembele, the striker, when they played Marseille. I was watching that game as well. Arsenal signed me up, man. But on a serious note, we're looking at strikers, obviously. Now, I see the angle, because if Aubameyang and Lacazette, they're not at it, they're not in form, someone's injured, just downright need a rest, what sort of happens around that? And ideally, Aubameyang, you'd like to think until the season, probably about 2, maybe 3 years. He's probably got 2-3 years at Arsenal, excluding this year that he's completed, before he declines and stuff. Now, people might say when he loses his pace, is he still going to be able to do this thing? I personally going to believe it's going to be a challenge, but at the same time, most of his goals are poaching finishes and things. Do you need to necessarily be quick, or do you need to be quick off the mind? But we're going off topic, my guy. Hopefully I've answered your question. Somebody asked thoughts on Chris Willock. Think he's a baller, he's got a decent career ahead of him. Actually saw reports he might leave Benfica at the end of the season. He's 21, it's been a good experience for him in Portugal, but I imagine he wants to play first team. He's been linked with West Brom, Leeds and a couple of other championship sides, English sides, so we'll see what happens, man. I'll always support him and his brother and people that have come through the Arsenal Academy. Someone asks, would you sell Lacazette to fund Zaha? Nope. Somebody asks, 4 realistic signings. Well, in terms of our budget and whatnot, without going in depth, Brandt, Telemans, Benacia, Ndika, Barella, Jean Jordan, hopefully I've said his name correctly. Yeah, to be fair, with Ziyech, yeah, hopefully I've said it. Somebody's asked me, Brandt or Zaha. I think Zaha is the more exciting player, but in terms of if he was asking me what would probably be the better signing for Arsenal, Zaha would obviously hit the ground running as a super player, but if we really haven't got no money, Brandt's release clause is 21 point something million. If we can't do that, then we're really in some issues. Someone's also asked, Van der Beek or Maddison. 2 different midfielders for me, but I prefer Van der Beek, and you lot know that, watch me, I'm a big fan of Maddison. Somebody's asked, Would you pay the extra 20-25 million for Pepe or go for Zaha? I'm assuming you've seen the links that Zaha's 50 million or in that range, and Pepe's the 70 million. I would love Pepe at the club. And it might look stupid in a couple of years, but I'm not too sure I would pay 70 million for Pepe. I think he's a good player, but if it was up to me, I don't know. I'd have to sit down really and think about it. It's more than just being a good player. I think he's confirmed it, but I do think 70 million is a bit dear, really, people. Maybe 70 million add-ons, if we can do that for around 50, maybe a 60, but I feel the Wenger coming out of me, people. That 70 is looking a bit mad. I feel, like I said, the Wenger coming out. It's a good debate, man. Both are out of our price range, and Pepe's got all of Europe looking at him, essentially, in the top club, so we ain't got a snowball's chance in hell, essentially, but it's a difficult one, man. I'd probably say if I could and money weren't a thing, I'd probably spend it on Pepe. If I was on a Chelsea thing of old and it didn't matter because we got peas, then probably Pepe, my guy. Moving on. Should the manager or the captain be in charge of game management? Great question, whoever asked that. And the question is, and the answer is both. Because I believe players get away with a lot. When you see Pep and Klopp and our manager Emery and all of these guys shouting and looking all passionate and stuff, it's great. I love to see it. They're doing good things. But I think a big part of that is because footballers nowadays, they're not dumber, but I don't think there's enough thinking, what's the word, like not self-reflection, but thinking within yourself what you need to do, because I believe a big part of that is player power. I don't believe in shouting at people, but if I played in probably like 2004 and beyond that, obviously player power is a big thing then, but if I played poorly, I'm coming out the side. Now, if I can't play poorly, I'm telling my agent. There's rumours on Twitter and things. So I wouldn't say players don't have to perfect their craft, because we all know that's a lie, and we're in an age where some of these footballers statistically and with our eyes are doing crazy things. But I just don't think there's enough personal accountability game by game for footballers, to be honest. Yeah, you see it on Match of the Day, and it must not be a nice feeling if you've made a mistake to go and see it on national TV. But I think it's both, people. I believe the manager has to ingrain how to play and what to do in certain situations and all of these sort of things. But at the end of the day, I believe that's on the manager, but the manager's not out there. Everyone's got a plan until they get kicked in the face. I believe you punched in the face. Sorry, Mike Tyson. I believe you should stick to the manager's plan, but players should have the competence to know. I know the manager, for instance, told us to go forward, or if the manager told you that, alright, cool, we want to play, we want to attack and have a good game, but it's not that sort of party today, lads. They're putting us under pressure. Let's all sit defensively, frustrate them, and see where we can go from this. I believe that's on the players. They should all have competence, to know to do that. Or if they're starting in a way, they should know, alright, cool, let's assert ourselves in this game. So it's 50%. The manager, I suppose, it ultimately falls on his head because he's the manager and he should be training them for 38 Premier League games to be able to do that. And however many you play in a total season, if you play in Europa or Champs and FA Cup and the rest of it. So I believe 50%, but on the long run, you're probably more looking to the manager, my guys, man. You look at Arsenal. You remember, look at Old Trafford, the game at Old Trafford where we could have won in the league. Emery set us out superbly, in my opinion. We did all right. We scored the early goals, but very quickly we conceded. Do you remember when, was it Lingard scored his second, or whenever it made it 2-2? A series of errors. That's on the players. The players should think, okay, we've just scored here. Arsenal rarely win in the league at Old Trafford. Let's fix up. Let's pattern now. You're most vulnerable when you've just scored, ironically. Let's fix up. The manager can tell you all the things in the world, but the players got to be out there to do it. And at the end of the day, when clubs are doing well, like you're seeing with City and Liverpool, Klopp and Pep are getting praise, but they're the last ones getting the praise. It's all what the players are doing. When Pep went out to City, or if Liverpool didn't win the league, or they don't do certain things, question marks are asked of the manager. It's not always fair, but it's part and parcel. It is what it is, man. So that's that question. Do fans need to do more to get Kroenke out? If that's what you believe, maybe possibly Arsenal fans could be more vocal on that. That's not a question for me to answer, people. Somebody's asked, favourites to win the Champions League. I think Spurs are going to do it, my guys, and it hurts me to say that, but I'm supporting Liverpool all the way, man. I just feel it's going to happen for Spurs, man. It's not directly identical to Chelsea's thing, but if you remember, Spurs, they did their thing. They got out of the group, but they almost went out of it, and I just feel they've done their thing coming back against Ajax, and I'm not suggesting they ain't been good, but it just feels, neither am I about Chelsea that won it. it just feels like they're going to do it, people, man. And you just have to accept that Trippier is going to be a Champions League winner and them things there. And some of our players of old ain't won it at Arsenal. It is what it is, man. It's peak. When did you start supporting Arsenal and why? All my life, as early as I can remember, my GG. And why? I'm a North London boy. Friends, family, Thierry Henry, players around that sort of era. Why else, man? Vieira, why else? Like, why else? Like, playing football and everybody was just an Arsenal fan. Like, Arsenal, like, what? Arsenal? Do you listen on the radio to Arsenal? Do you watch Arsenal? Telly Sport, Arsenal? Like, are you listening? Like, you just, yeah, man. When I was going football, even before, like, I really started watching football, like, by myself. We're playing football in the, like, PE teachers, and they'll be saying, be like this Arsenal player and that, and Freddie Lomberg, and all these things when I was coming up in primary. So, that's why, man. It's just a team I fell in love with, my guy. Oh, man. Oh, it was warm. That was dead. But, where would you like to be this time next year, man? I would like to be anything, man. I'd like to, I don't know. Who knows, man? Just in a better situation in all aspects of my life. Like anybody, my guy, whoever asks that. Should we sell or keep Ozil? It's an exhausting debate, my guy, man. I mean, that's for Emery, man. Like, on one hand, you'd think he probably needs to go to free up wages and things like that. But at the same time, the club, when they signed that deal, rightly or wrongly, regardless of your opinion of Ozil, they must have banked on him seeing out the duration of that deal. If we're not gonna sign, if we ain't got enough money to sign all areas, and we're gonna have to persist with certain players, then just play him. I know he's not Ozil of old, and you kind of don't know what you're going to get with Ozil beyond the passing and them little things there, but it's exhausting, man. I don't know either one at this moment in time, man. I just dream of a day I can just talk about Arsenal and just the issues with Arsenal, not the player dramas and them things there, my GG. But moving on, would you rather lose Europa League and Spurs lose, or win the Europa League and Spurs win the Champions League? Well, I'd rather lose ours. I'd rather everybody lose then, of course. As shameful as it would be, Chelsea would have to just take that, innit? Chelsea and Liverpool, respectively. Michael Smith asks, do you think Lacazette can play the false nine like Messi? I mean, playing a little deeper and making late runs into the box. Wouldn't say like Messi, of course. People look at that and think what are you talking about, but I've made videos about such. So, of course, my G, why not? He can play a support striker role and dropping into midfield like he basically does. Anyways, Simon's asks, can we keep Ozil and drop him centre mid? Well, if he looks to David Silva for inspiration, I suppose he could convert himself, but I don't think it's going to happen, man. God, just, yeah, man, it is what it is. To be fair, Ozil has, at times in a game when we've been chasing it, been put in a pivot. He's actually played out wide. He's played in his 10. He plays all about the place, really and truly. So who knows, man. You've also asked, get some wingers, a left-back and some centre-backs, but 40 million is jokes. But, oh, no, that was actually included what you said. My bad. Yeah, that was your thoughts. I shouldn't have said that. But moving on. Shizzles asked, oh, look, they're back. Some of the usernames are back. Apologies, people. I said his name, so Shizzles. He said, if we don't qualify for the Europa League, big up yourself. You're always in the comments. I'm not copying and pasting consistently here, but you've asked, if we don't qualify for the Europa League and spend sufficient funds, don't you feel that our team could possibly end up like Wolves and Leicester? And they could even possibly finish above us next season. Well, maybe I still think we'd have enough to finish ahead of them at this moment in time without their signings. But definitely if we continue possibly to directly invest and have a suitable squad and improve on year, then the intention of what Wolves are trying to do, challenge for Europa, break into the top 6, Watford to a lesser degree, and Everton, if Usmanov and them man there pour money into it, or just about anyone who wants to spend money, then you have to fear that sort of thing. Don't feel we have to panic yet, but you never know, man. It is what it is in that regards. Somebody else says, oh, nobody's asked nothing because I've scrolled too far. What am I doing? Here we go. I think this is the last question, to be fair. Mark, almost said your name. But, yeah, you know who asked this. For your Friday Q&A, what do you think about Bold and the rumours of him leaving? This is the first I've seen that, my guy. So if he is leaving, then maybe he wants to retire. Maybe he wants to try something else. Maybe he just wants to call it a day. Maybe, Emery, maybe he feels he can't do enough, similar to alleged reports under Wenger, and he wants to move on. Who knows, man? Who knows, my guy? Who knows in that regard? That's the first I'm seeing. And to be honest with you, that's the first I've heard of that, so I can't. I'm trying to digest it and give you my honest thoughts, but I need to probably take that in and see the rumours for myself and reflect on my thoughts and stuff. You've asked me what do I think of Bielik. I think Bielik's a decent player. He's at least give him a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be the messiah or the answer to everything, and I'm sure you're not as well. But give him a chance. He's 21 or 21. He's of the age he needs to go elsewhere and play. He'll probably play in the Poland under-21s championship, so he'll put himself in front of some people. He's done his thing in League One. Would like him to ideally play for us, get some chances, or go to Germany on loan. I wouldn't like to see him play in the Championship if Charlton get promoted, if they can. Forgive me if my information is inaccurate, but didn't he play against Doncaster in the League One playoffs or something? But or the game to get into that. But and I don't know the second legs and stuff. But I'd love to see him get chances. Still think he's very naive in certain defensive situations. I still think he needs to. He's a good player, but possibly. At times he's a good passer, but at times his passing is sloppy. At times, obviously that's been happening at Arsenal, but if you look at the game against Doncaster, he was playing quite well. But 2 minutes, 3 minutes before half time, 5-yard passes weren't quite of the same quality as in the first, as they were in the last 5, and he was presenting some opportunities to the opposition. I feel collectively him too, he could have done better for the goal he's conceded, and I feel some of the certain things I see, you learn harsh lessons in the Prem. Like I say with Mavropanos and all other young players, you can't get experience without it, and you need them to get ripped. You would need, for Bielik to improve, we would need him to come and get destroyed against Watford or some other team, or get bullied against Deeney. But I think he's a decent player. He can fill in at centre-half, can provide depth in that respect, can play in defensive mid, could either be rested for Torreira and vice versa, can be used in the squad. Him and Torreira can be used in games we want to shut it down, or coming on in the game that he wants to shut it down, sort of thing. Ultimately providing Unai Emery with more options. So I think he should get a chance, but who knows, man. It's an interesting summer because I think Unai Emery has to integrate some of these young players, but I feel young players included, players that are not good enough to move forward with, and players in general, I feel our squad isn't the biggest, and it's a very much case of quantity over quality. And at the end of the day, even some of the quality, not too many players can play, because 11 players can only play one match, excluding subs and all these sort of things, people. So realistically, Emery's got a big task for himself to go away with his coaching staff and think about. In regards to the Q&A though, I'm personally finished, so I'm going to get out of your hair. People, deluded, I'm out. It's been a pleasure.